Hello, my beautiful friends. It is an amazing day and welcome back. We're waiting for those tubes to warm themselves up and connect themselves. We know that there are extra Chinese sensors in there since they've taken over the telecoms. Hopefully they'll let us stream today. Can we please stream today, communist Chinese hackers, please? All right, so the tubes are connecting. We're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on Locals. And my friends, it is a beautiful Friday. We made it through another very busy week, and we're excited that you're here and with us. We've got some good business to attend to today. Let me give us a preview before we zoom in on the further details. We've got an update on the Daniel Penny case, and there is more on this because this is fresh out of the oven. It is something that it feels like the judge is trying to shoehorn in a second conviction possibility. So we'll come back. We'll see what the latest is because there was some good reporting here. Greg Price was there. Inner City Press was there. Joseph Brucker was there. And we'll go through what the latest is. The jury has been adjourned for the weekend, so they'll come back on Monday. The top charge, which was the manslaughter charge, is going away, but they'll try to salvage the negligent homicide charge. And so we'll go through what the latest is on that. Bunch of good people there reporting. So we'll see what that is, what the latest is there. Then we'll go over to Fani land yet again, because Fani got another letter from Jim Jordan and Congress, and shout out to Phil Holloway for digging up this document for us. He's on YouTube, by the way. Are you subscribed to Phil Holloway? He's shared the document. The document comes from the Judiciary Committee, and it is going over to the Honorable Fani Willis. So we'll read through this saying, "You're out of time, Fani. We've sent multiple requests to your office and you're not responding to them. And we're not happy about it." We've also got Representative Chip Roy, who sent another letter to Merrick Garland and to Christopher Wray at the FBI saying, "We know you're about to shred everything you've ever touched. So how about you don't?" Saying, "We're now demanding a preservation of your records and we'll be coming for them soon enough." We'll see what Chip Roy said about it and what's happening with some of those officials in those intelligence agencies. Then we've got an update on Pete Hegseth because his attorney called Tim Parlatore. Remember him? Tim's back. Tim represented President Trump at one point in time and was involved in some of the criminal cases that we covered here. And now he's representing Pete Hegseth, and he's coming out talking with Caitlin Collins, saying, "If you're talking bad about my boy Pete, there will be repercussions coming for you in the form of defamation," saying that actually the accuser who is making these allegations against Pete, she's free to talk if she wants to. There is no NDA. She's totally capable of coming out and explaining what happened. But if she lies at all, well, there can be penalties for that in the form of a defamation lawsuit. So we'll see what he said. And he's looking good. He's looking like he's, kind of thin, like kind of tight. Tim looks good. What's up, Tim? All right, so we'll see what he says. Then we've got some other news to break. Speaking of Caitlin Collins, here's what we found, courtesy of Raheem. Todd Blanche had lunch with Caitlin Collins. Oh, no, Todd, no, don't do it, no. All right, so I don't know what the hell's going on here, but that's Todd Blanche. He's going to be the Deputy Attorney General, and he was out with Caitlin Collins, and she put her sunglasses on so nobody could see her or something. I don't know. All right, so we'll see what that's all about. You never know. Defense attorneys are very sneaky out there. We don't know if he's cavorting with the enemy or if he's trying to work a case. We'll have to come back on that. But Todd Blanche, oh gosh. All right, so then we'll see what Joni Ernst has to say about Pete Hegseth, because Hegseth is catching it from her. And we were talking about her this morning on the members only stream. And she came out with she's like, "We're going to fix the government." She's got this new bill that she's introducing. It's basically like computer monitoring software. She's like, "That's going to solve our problem." I'm like, wait a minute. So your solution to see if people are ineffective or not ineffective is to create a whole nother layer of bureaucracy to measure their ineffectiveness? Okay. All right. That sounds like a government solution right there. If they're ineffective and you have a doubt about it, that's it. You're done. You don't need to monitor them. Okay, bye. And anyways, we had some fun with that this morning. And she's out saying, well, I've got some doubts about Hegseth now, even though she did cartwheels for Lloyd Austin, got him confirmed, no problem. Now, J.D. Vance and President Trump are doubling down on Pete Hegseth. They're not going anywhere. There was some rumor that Ron DeSantis might be coming in to run the DOD or something like that. Doesn't look like it. Got some updates there. Pete Hegseth responded to this. J.D. Vance was out talking about it. And we see that Joni Ernst is the person who apparently is leading the cause behind the scenes to not confirm Pete Hegseth. So Chip Roy was talking about it. We've got more reaction. And then we'll hear from Pete himself, who I think I said Pete himself, and then I was saying like Hegseth, so it's like himself kind of a thing. Anyways, we'll warm up today, as you can see. But we got Hegseth, who actually spoke to the media point blank and addressed this, so we'll see what he says. And then we got an update on this TikTok battle, man, because the clock is ticking. Yeah, I know. And now TikTok is one step closer to being banned in the United States. And we were wondering if this was ever going to happen. And now President Trump does not want this to happen. And I'm not keen on the idea either that our government can just come in here and unilaterally get rid of a platform when they don't like the speech that's on the platform. And that's really what this is about, is they don't like what people are saying on TikTok. So there was a bipartisan effort to ban TikTok unless they divest themselves, which they're saying we're not going to do. And Joe Biden signed that into law. Now, we'll read through the opinion because the Court of Appeals came out and said, yeah, I mean, the law is the law. It's valid. Trump has some options on what he can do once he gets into the White House. But as it stands, this thing is on track to be banned coming up in January 19th, okay, before Trump even comes into office. So will it be banned? We don't know. But again, they're not concerned about Chinese hackers stealing your data. They've already got everything, okay? They're already in the telecoms and everywhere else. And they're just like, well, probably you should use some other app. Okay, thanks, guys. What do you need your billions of dollars for again if you can't even help secure the networks and nobody cares? You're just like, oh, you should use something more secure, like Signal. Thanks, guys. Great job. So TikTok is likely going to be appealing this. I've got some reaction from them, perhaps taking this up to the Supreme Court. We'll see what the Supreme Court says about it. We'll see what Trump does about it. But it's a big deal. TikTok is huge. It's rivaling YouTube. And we'll see where this goes. I know a lot of people rely on it. A lot of people use it. And so a lot of people would be very unhappy about it. And we'll come back. I got a whole segment on it. I'm going to start running my mouth on it, but hold off, Rob. All right, so we got some great stuff to get to today, my friends. We're glad that you're here in with us. We had an amazing members-only stream this morning where we talked about a bunch of other things. We go live in the mornings, 9 a.m. Arizona time, which is 11 a.m. Eastern time. So if you want to join us, it's great fun. A little bit smaller streams, lower key, a little bit more interaction, and so we have a great time. A lot of amazing membos in the community. We'd love to have you aboard. We also do streams on Saturday, which is tomorrow. Woohoo! And we'll see you there tomorrow. So come check it out. Thanks for becoming a member. Links in the description, and we'll see you on the other side. Now, it's time to get into the details because here is the latest out of Daniel Penny. Corruption afoot in the Daniel Penny case. We see the latest here is being reported by the people who are inside. Greg Price has got the details. Inner City Press has got the details. And Joseph Brucker was also there. And we've been waiting for a verdict on the Daniel Penny case. And today the jury has been excused, sent home for the weekend, so they can come back on Monday and consider a secondary charge. Now, the main charge in this case, as you can see here, was the manslaughter charge. Negligent homicide is the less serious charge, less criminal culpability. And it's like the backup plan. Now, the prosecutors structure their cases like this so that they have those backup plans. So if the jury can't agree to something, they have something else to fall on. But what's happened here is the jury hasn't agreed as to count one, right? It's hung. They haven't said he's guilty or not guilty. They said we can't come to a resolution on this. So the jury is broken. And now they're saying the government prosecutors are saying to the judge, let's see if we can fix them for the other counts. Let's give them a multiple choice test. Whereas the argument is they can only go to point 2 once they process point 1. But since they can't process point 1, oops, we're just going to avoid point 1 like it never happened at all, and we're just going to go to point 2. Since you can't answer the question on that. Obviously, that's a problem. The defense attorneys for Daniel Penny obviously objected to this and said, no, that's not how the law works, because here is what we saw in the verdict sheet that the jury was supposedly reading today. Something like this. Count 1, manslaughter in the second degree, the serious charge. Says if you find the defendant guilty of count 1, then you don't have to go to count 2. Okay, that's the big one. You get him on that one, you don't have to go to the next one. Do not render a verdict on count 2 because you got him already. If you find the defendant not guilty of count 1 manslaughter in the second degree, but you find him not guilty because you think that the people have failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Daniel Penny was not justified, then you must not consider count 2, which is the next one, criminally negligent homicide, and you must also find him not guilty of that count. Okay, so they said a lot there. What does it mean? We're talking about burdens of proof. We always hear you have to find the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, right? And the government has the burden of proof to present the evidence to overcome that standard. It's a very high standard. We talk about different standards. Think of it like jumping over a pole vault or something. It's a high standard, a hard leap. When you do it in percentages, a lot of defense attorneys will say 80%, 90%. It's beyond a reasonable doubt, right? Defense attorneys like to say it's like 99%. Prosecutors like, well, that's like 80, 85. No. Because if there's any doubt based in reason, well, then you haven't met the standard because it's got to be beyond any reasonable doubt. So we like to say very high, 90% plus. Other standards are lower, like 51% or a lower standard. But here, the government has the burden to prove it beyond that reasonable doubt. Now, when the defendant asserts that they have a defense, they might say, yeah, I touched that person. Yeah, I hit that person. Yeah, I choked that person, whatever. But I was justified in doing that. So it's an affirmative defense. Yes, I did the conduct. Yes, I did punch him in the face, but it was self-defense. So I broke his nose. That's his fault. He started it. I was justified in hitting him. And once the defense has the burden, usually to prove that up. And once they do, they say, okay, now my proof has been established. I am justified. So then the burden shifts back to the government. And then they have to prove that he is not justified beyond that reasonable doubt. Okay, it's this volley back and forth. So they're saying if you now cannot prove that he was not justified beyond a reasonable doubt, then he's justified for count 1 and for count 2. Now, if you find the defendant not guilty of count 1 manslaughter in the second degree for some reason other than lack of the justification, because he would have, if he's justified for 1, he's justified for 2, then you can proceed and render a verdict on count 2, which is criminally negligent homicide. Okay? It's only if there's all these permutations. The only way you can proceed to count 2 is if you've come to these conclusions, right? Is what they're saying. The defense is saying. You cannot proceed to count 2 unless it's one of these conditions. Now, this has not been determined. The jury has been hung on this component. They have not decided whether he's guilty or not guilty, or if he's not guilty on what basis. It is unknown. It is unsettled. So what are the prosecutors doing? They're trying to then forget about count 1. We just forget it. They can't decide on that. We'll take that away from them and we'll serve them something else. Maybe they'll like this better. But that's not how this case was brought. That's not how this indictment was charged. That's not how this case was instructed. So the jury, they're trying to finagle into a guilty verdict. Now, here is what some more reporting looks like from Inner City Press. In fact, let's go over to his latest, because here's what he posted. It says, in the Daniel Penny trial, Judge Wiley just said, let's go through the whole day, actually. He's here in the courtroom. He says, I've been in the courtroom for some time since this morning. Still no sign of the judge or the jury or the prosecutors or Danny Penny and his lawyers. Presumably, they're all waiting for a jury note to be called in for a verdict. In the meantime, he's going to share with us some exhibits and more. There's a transcript of a 911 call that was put onto the public docket this week. Someone on the 911 call called and said, someone started acting crazy on the train. Operator says, operator. Hello, on the F train. What's happening here? Caller says, oh my gosh. Someone started acting crazy on the train, talking about he's not afraid to go to jail or something. He's ready to hurt someone. And this guy put him in a chokehold to calm him down. So caller's frantic. So the train stopped and someone's trying to get him off the train, but there's no cops to UI. There's usually here on the other side. Okay, so someone started making threats, you said? Yes. Okay. Is there any injuries? Any weapons? Ma'am, no, but he got the man restrained. So could you all get someone over here? Because he's doing y'all justice. Like, all right. So just to let you know, the job is already in the system. Okay. You answering my something is what's sent in. Now, a comparison in terms of jury deliberations here is another murder. A jury, in this case, there was another conviction. Now we're back. Update, 10:55 a.m. Judge Maxwell Wiley finally takes the bench. Finally, it's almost 11 o'clock. But it is for another case. So it's a time-served sentence. They come in, they take the plea. It's over in 30 seconds. They walk out. All right, nothing. So they come back, 11:01 a.m. Government prosecutor Daphne Yorin has just walked into the courtroom. She's been handed a single page. Now Daniel Penny and his lawyers and their team walk in. The Penny team member who is on Netflix, Get Gotti, is in a sweater today, not a suit. Judge says, all right, we've received a note from the jury today. We would like instruction from Judge Wiley. They say, we are unable to reach a unanimous verdict on count one. Judge says, great. Parties? Daniel Penny's lawyer, Your Honor, they shouldn't consider count two. Okay, they're done. Judge says, well, I have to give him an Allen charge. And we remember that's like it's like the kind of reading the jury the riot act. It's like you have to get a decision on this, okay? Like now. I have to give them an Allen charge. Go back in there and just dig into it. Government says, Your Honor, it would be a crazy result if they can't move on to count two. That's ridiculous. So they should be allowed to just skip over one and go to two. The judge says, well, I have to ask them to try to reach a count one. So what government, what do you guys want to do? Do you want some time to talk about this? Prosecutor says, well, let me talk to my colleagues. Probably going to go call Alvin Bragg. Judge says, all right, everybody step out, please. Prosecutor hops on the phone. And of course, this is being brought to us by Inner City Press. Matthew Russell Lee, please support his work on X, Amazon, Substack, and PayPal. Now, here is something from the law. New York rules on juries. He gives us some details there. Then we're back, and it's now 11:45. Prosecutor Daphne Yorin tells the court officer, all right, Your Honor, we're good. They're ready. So Daniel Penny and his lawyers walk in. All right, come to order, everybody. Your Honor, we're ready. Judge says, okay, what's your position? What's the defense's position? Daniel Penny's lawyer says, Your Honor, we're moving for a mistrial. We've had 20 hours of deliberations over 4 days in a case that is not factually complex at all. And so we oppose the Allen charge. We think that's coercive to the jury. You don't need to go in there and scream at them. You have to find a verdict here. That's too much. It's already been 4 days, not a complicated case. They clearly cannot come to an agreement, so let it go. We oppose. Government? Well, Your Honor, we want the Allen charge, clearly. I mean, we may be willing to dismiss count one, We'll dismiss it if that'll get them to count 2. The defense goes, what? That's not what we said. Judge says, well, they may hang on both of them. I mean, they may hang on count 2, so we don't know. So he says, all right, listen, before we decide on that, I'm going to go give him the Allen charge. All right, I'm going to go scream at them. You have a duty. Figure this out. You're a citizen. Get in there. And says, they did go several hours without asking for any exhibits. They're methodical and conscientious. And so I will follow the rules for the Allen charge, whatever the rules there's all these model rules and templates that we have in criminal cases. So I'll just follow the script for the Allen charge. All right, ready? Anything? All right, bring the jury out. Jury comes out. He says, all right, listen, jurors, you 12 were selected to serve, okay? Both sides express confidence in your fairness. Now, there's no reason to think another jury would be more intelligent or hardworking than you people, so I'm asking you to get back in there and resume deliberations. Be flexible. Be willing to change your position. Which, in my mind, this is ridiculous, right? Because this is already reasonable doubt about the evidence in the case. There's doubt right now. They can't, in 4 days, they can't figure it out. That's doubt. There is doubt. This is unconstitutional and coercion. So then the jury exits. Go back and deliberate. The judge says, I think they can go on to count 2. Defense goes, what the heck did you say? Then at 12:26, they take a break. They come back. Prosecutor has come back and is handed a note. Court says they're ready for you. Daniel Penny and his lawyers come in. They also read the note. Judge says, all right, everybody. So we got the next note here. It states, we, the jury, request further clarification on whether a person reasonably believes force is necessary. We would like more info on what is a reasonable person. What a great question. Yeah, because it's like you spend 80% of law school talking about that. You just apply it to every different property law, contract law, criminal law, everything. What is a reasonable person? Judge Wiley says, well, there's a passage in People versus Gates in which they note that reasonableness must be based on the circumstances. Maybe that'll help. So we'll just give him some case law here. And maybe that'll help. Penny's lawyer, Kenneth, says, we obviously know that Gates' case very well. And that's speaking to the subjective, right? So the concept on reasonableness, is it objective or is it subjective? Are you measuring the conduct of a person against what? The person at that place in time under the specific circumstances, or against what a reasonable person of a like mind in the similar situation and circumstances would do? It's very nuanced, but that's what they're talking about. All right, so it says, all right, well, I'll just read it to them. They're saying, well, it's subjective. They're saying, well, what would you do in that position? Not what would a reasonable person do? He said, whatever, bring them out. Jury comes back out. Judge says, well, reasonableness is up to you to decide. What would a reasonable person do in this situation? It's that objective standard. We all look to this reasonableness. He must have honestly believed Jordan Neely was going to use physical force against him or someone else. And so the jury then exits. Okay, I guess we'll deal with that. So then they say, we'll have lunch at 1 o'clock, then we'll resume. So they go out for lunch, and Matthew Russell Lee brings this to us. Now we're back in the courtroom for a while. Court officers, it's 2:54 p.m. It's Friday afternoon. They're like, what the heck is this jury doing? No sign of Judge Wiley or the lawyers. Below is an agreed verdict sheet to go to count 2, okay? If not guilty on count 1, if it's not other than justification, nothing about going to count 2 if it's hung on count 1. We just read it's not in there. There's one way you get to count 2. And they have to find the defendant not guilty of count 1 for some reason other than justification. They got to go through the process. Now, Inner City Press continues to report. As of 3 p.m., Daphna Yoren, the prosecutor, has come back down into the courtroom. Now the judge is coming down. He's here. Now Daniel Penny and his lawyers walk into the courtroom. Judge says, all right, we got another note. says, we, the jury, would like to inform we cannot come to a unanimous verdict on count 1. Courtroom shocks. Oh my gosh, you're kidding. Prosecutor Uran says, we are considering withdrawing count 1. What? You already charged it. Judge says, huh? I'm not sure that's consistent with New York state law. What are you talking about? What do I tell the jury? What do I say? Do we deem count 1 to be an acquittal? What? Could they properly do count 2? Huh? Judge is like, what? He says, well, you just tell them they can do what they want to do. Just go back. Again, this is the Alvin Bragg prosecution style. This is the New York style. We saw this in the Alvin Bragg prosecution of President Trump with Judge Merchan. Says, remember Merchan said they could pick a crime, any crime. The jury didn't even need to be unanimous on what the object offense was that created the felony that they made up out of thin air. They just could make it up. Didn't matter. Somebody could say it was a tax crime. Somebody could say it was a federal crime. Somebody could say it was a local tax crime. All sorts of permutations. Same thing's happening here. If they don't like 1, they can do 2. If they don't like 2, we'll just add a 3rd one. Judge Wiley says, I don't know. I think I either declare a mistrial or I give a second Allen charge and scold them and coerce them again. Maybe tell them to come back on Monday. But I don't know what I would say about this. You just say, Your Honor, they're like convincing Your Honor, you just say there's no point to that if we don't resolve this first, So just do that. Judge is like, what the heck are you talking about? You want me to do what on the what now? Then we're back. And let's see what else he reports for us. Now there's more on this story. You can see, let's reverse and back up to where this was happening. There we go. He says, well, go think about it, you guys. Let's take a break. Let's see if the jury can figure this out. They come back half hour later. No answers. Government prosecutor comes back in and she drags someone else with her. Sergeant, tell the judge we're ready. Can we get another chair? She says. She sips from a pink ice water bottle. Typical prosecutor. Thank you, Inner City Press, for telling us that detail, because it's true. She would be drinking from a pink ice water bottle. So Daniel Penny and his lawyers come in. Judge says, all right, people, government, what do you people want? Your Honor, we'd like to dismiss count 1. And please let ADA Stephen Yu, who is our appeals chief, speak. So they brought in the smart guy. All right, they brought in like the smart person. The judge says, well, may not be necessary to hear him. Dismissing the first count would resolve the compromise verdict issue. So if you just dismiss it, the judge says, I talked to somebody, we'll do it. Your Honor, the defense jumps up. What? You can't do that. You just said like 5 minutes ago that you didn't see how you could do that. I'm not sure that's consistent with New York law. What do I tell the jury? We deem that to an acquittal? The judge's like, I don't know what to do. He takes a break. He goes, talks to somebody. Somebody comes back to the judge and is like, this is what you do. All right, listen. This is how we're going to convict him. He's like, oh yeah, should have thought of that. Then he comes back in. Oh yeah, we'll just dismiss it. No problem. Defense says, what? This would be elbowing the jury, Your Honor. This would be coercing them. Well, no, not really. The prosecutor's proposal would resolve that because it would be dismissed. The appellate smart lawyer, Wu, he comes in, he says, Your Honor, put it correctly. Removal of the top count with prejudice takes that concern away. He says, well, all right, you're smarter than me. What do I tell the jury then, Mr. Wu? Your Honor, the other one says, well, don't tell them it's an acquittal, only that it's dismissed. Just say it's dismissed. So everything that the prosecutors were screaming about, he killed him, he choked him. We're just going to dismiss it at the end, okay, to these jurors, because they're so corrupt. They just want a conviction. They don't care. Penny's lawyer, Kenneth, says, Your Honor, this has never been done before, all right? It would encourage prosecutors to overcharge in the grand jury, and then if the jury comes back and says that they lose, they just dismiss it under coercion. That's crazy. You can't do that. They can't have multiple shots at this. They presented their case. They failed to convince the jury beyond a reasonable doubt in unanimity that is required to prove it. It's done. Judge says, well, it's a good point, but you know what? Since I don't really care about the presumption of innocence or due process at all, or giving the benefit of the doubt to the presumed innocent party, I'll take a chance. I'll take a chance and grant the people's application, which is like insane. Okay, that's like a presumption of guilt. So he shifted the burden now back against Penny in a way. I used to appear in front of a judge, and he would say, if it's 50-50, you get the benefit of the doubt, right? And I'd argue in front of him all the time. You're right. So, I don't really know what the problem is here between prosecutor and defense. He's like, it's 50-50, defense wins. That's how it should be, because the defense has a presumption of innocence. Okay, at minimum, that's how it should be. And even in these situations, the prosecutor, it was various situations, but the judge, that was his phrase. Give the defense the victory on that issue, give them the benefit, give them the extra time, give them whatever, because we have the presumption of innocence. And the standard here in a criminal prosecution is not taking a chance. It's not how due process works, like this is a gamble. Well, we'll see what the Court of Appeals says. I don't really know how this is going to come out. So we'll just let them do something unprecedented that I don't even know how to do. I don't even know what to say to the judge, to the jurors. I'm going to let them go to return and consider count 2 on Monday. So bring them in. Judge says, all right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, manslaughter in the second degree is dismissed. Right. And so you might say, well, that's a nice victory there because the main charge is gone, and it's only gone because they rigged it so that they could consider the second charge. The whole case should have been hung and the whole case should have been dismissed. But they rigged it, as you can see, explained in court. It says you're free to consider count 2 on Monday. I'll take a chance and grant the application. I'll take a chance. That's nice. Nice of him to do that. Wonder if he would appreciate that if his own kid was charged. Penny's lawyer says, Your Honor, it seems a juror has been talking to the media, expressing frustration with the process. The name given is not a name of the juror, though. Well, I see no reason to question the jurors about that, so you can investigate it if you want. All right, Your Honor, we will. See you Monday. And that's what happened today. So shout out to Inner City Press for reporting that for us. And you can see, as per usual, New York courts are politically rigged in order to secure outcomes. Happened with President Trump, happening with Daniel Penny. And from this transcript alone, feels like there are multiple appealable issues in the judge is like, oh, I don't know. We'll figure it out. That's an abuse of discretion. That should be appealed no matter what happens. But small verdict, victory today. Main charge dismissed. We'll be here hopefully back on Monday waiting for the jury to get rid of the rest of them. Hopefully they see how transparent this is. These are sore losers. Your first shot didn't win, and so now you're going to have to default and try to rig the rules of the game in order to squeeze the second one through. Hopefully the jurors see through it and justice is done despite Bragg's rigging to the best of his ability to produce the opposite outcome. Hopefully justice is done. We'll be here to see what happens on Monday. All right, so my friends, good update there on Penny. Let's turn our attention to what's happening in Fani land because Jim Jordan done playing. Fani Willis getting her final warning from Jim Jordan. He sent her a letter saying, I've already sent you many letters, Big Fani. You are failing to respond. And if you continue to do that, there's going to be a subpoena coming for your Fani. You can see Fox News Atlanta has been on this, but we do have the full letter here, also courtesy of our friend Phil Holloway, who's on YouTube and on X and does great reporting, has all the inside goods in Georgia and is a great follow and a good attorney, says that he got his hands on the document. You can see it's going to The Honorable Fani Willis from the Committee on the Judiciary saying, hey, dear Big Fani, the Committee on the Judiciary is conducting oversight over you and your politically motivated prosecutions. If you recall, over a year ago, on August 24th, 2023, we requested from you all documents and communications between your office and the DOJ, including Jack Smith's office, all relating to Fani's prosecution and investigation of Trump and 18 other indicted individuals. And they give us the litany of all the letters they sent. August 23rd, December 5th, 2023, August 24th, January 3rd, December 5th, December 19th, all sorts of stuff happening down there. Further, on December 5th, 2023, almost a year to the day, after we became aware that the partisan J6 committee provided your office access to its records, right? So Fani ransacked Liz. Ugh, disgusting. We requested from you 2 categories of documents relating to the investigative coordination between your office and the January 6th Select Committee. To date, you have failed to produce all information responsive to these requests. And so on August 22nd, 2023, Judicial Watch submitted a request to your office, Fani, under the Georgia Open Records Act. And we just talked about that because they won that. They sought all documents and comms related to Jack Smith, the illegal special counsel. They also wanted all documents that you sent to Liz Cheney, Fani. In response, an individual from your office apparently told Judicial Watch, you guys said, we do not have the responsive records, sorry. Consequently, Judicial Watch sued your booties and alleged that you violated Georgia law because you do have responsive records that should have been produced. And after you failed to timely respond to those lawsuits, Fulton County came out and ordered you to produce those records within 5 business days. And that was this week. So we're coming back next week. And Fani Willis better have those records on my desk. And to provide Judicial Watch with copies of all responsive records that are not legally exempted or accepted from disclosure. Now, accordingly, the committee hereby reiterates the request that we've sent to you before, including those relating to Jack Smith and the January 6th committee. And we expect your voluntary compliance with these requests. Now, those letters are enclosed. We've attached them again because we know you threw the first ones in the garbage. If you're unable to locate these, or you choose to redact information, we ask that you let us know your reasons for doing that. If you have any questions, please contact our committee. Sincerely, your friend, Jim Jordan. I'm not seeing anything in here about a subpoena. Okay. So, I guess they're just going to rely on the court order and just piggyback onto that? Okay, well, maybe you'll wait another year and you'll get it next year. Thanks, Jim. Maybe it'll come for Christmas next time. Great job. All right, so here is what Chip Roy says. He sent another letter over to the FBI and the DOJ saying, don't you delete your records either. And we'll see what they do about this. Here's what this letter said. Sent December 5th from Jim Jordan's Judiciary letter writing committee. Let's see what this one says. All right, Garland and Ray, DOJ and FBI punks, honorable. The Attorney General Garland and Director Ray. All right, they say. All right, listen, punks. As chairman of all of these various committees, we remain concerned that you guys have weaponized the freedom of access to clinic entrances for pro-life Americans. All right, so preserve your records for the abortion stuff. Now, in addition, we're also troubled by the FBI and how you guys aren't responding to our request for information on this. Now, as subcommittees continue to face and conduct oversight, serious questions remain about your prosecutions of Americans supporting life and perpetrators of violent attacks on pregnancy resource centers. So one group of people are being prosecuted, the other people are being excused. During a committee hearing in July, Director Wray testified. He said, since the Dobbs decision, actually more of our abortion-related violent extremism investigations have focused on violence against pro-life facilities as opposed to the other way around. Okay. However, since January, the Civil Rights Division has brought a total of 24 FACE Act cases against 55 defendants, with only 2 of those cases consisting of 5 defendants concerning pregnancy centers. So 55 pro-lifers charged, 5 pro-abortioners charged, right? See how that works? One of those things is a little out of whack there. As you can see, Congress has a sacred duty to preserve the rights of the American people, including the First Amendment. As we examine how to best protect our American people, we must first understand how you people are abusing the FACE Act. Now, accordingly, consistent with my prior letter in October, this letter serves as a preservation request. You should construe this to take all reasonable steps to stop shredding your records, stop deleting your files, stop using a cloth like Hillary, because we're coming for them. If you have any questions about this, please give me a phone call. Sincerely, Chip Roy, Andy Biggs from Arizona, over to the FBI and the DOJ. So Fani, FBI, DOJ, getting letters, and Jim Jordan expects voluntary compliance out of Fani. We know how voluntary she'll be, so we're not going to hold our breath. But the pressure remains. We also saw that Steve Sadow, Trump's defense team, has submitted a motion to essentially dismiss the Georgia case, saying that the Georgia Court of Appeals has no jurisdiction. And so Fani is catching it from multiple angles. She's also been ordered to disclose these records due to Judicial Watch. No thanks to Congress. So shout out to Judicial Watch for filing a lawsuit and getting it done. But we'll look forward to seeing those records when they're published, and we hope you join us. Thanks for subscribing and coming back when we got them. All right, now let's turn our attention to the Hegseth appointment battle, because this is a fun little exchange here. Pete Hegseth going on offense. His attorney, this fella, you may recognize him, Tim Parlatore, who used to represent President Trump, is now saying if any accuser of Pete Hegseth wants to come out and speak, well, they're not bound by an NDA. They're free to come do that, but they better be careful, because when they speak, they're going to be held accountable for their words, and they might be facing a defamation lawsuit and serious repercussions coming their way. We'll see what Tim says, and then we'll come back, because President Trump and J.D. Vance are doubling down on their support for Pete. And we'll play some clips and show you where this is going. But here was the exchange on with Caitlin Collins and Tim Parlatore on CNN.
Today that Pete Hegseth has done is denying that allegation of sexual assault. That was kind of one of the first things that came up after Trump picked him to be his defense secretary. He has denied it fervently. It was settled in an agreement with this woman in 2017. Yesterday, when you were talking to Jake Tapper, you said that you believed it's extortion. But of course, as you know, extortion is also a crime. So if you felt that it was extortion, why not go to the police at the time?
Well, it was a decision that we made, and the email from the attorney, it was something that I don't know if it quite rises to the level of a criminal extortion that the police would take it on, but I think it certainly does meet the definition under the California law for civil extortion, and it was something that we were considering at the time, and quite frankly, with the violation of the agreement, if he is not confirmed as the Secretary of Defense, we may still bring a civil extortion claim against her.
So if he is not ultimately confirmed because of these allegations, you may take legal action against the person at the center of that agreement.
Absolutely. If the false claims of somebody that was part of an extortion that was then put out in violation of a settlement agreement ultimately causes him to lose his future employment opportunities, then yes, that is something that is worth bringing a lawsuit against her and her friend and potentially even the attorney for, yes.
We've heard some people say that she should be released from that non-disclosure agreement that was part of the settlement agreement. Is there any consideration between you and Mr. Hegseth of doing that?
Well, so first of all, it's not a non-disclosure agreement is something where one party agrees not to disclose. This is a confidential settlement agreement that had confidentiality on both sides. That agreement has since been breached by her. And so as a result, I sent notice to her attorney that that agreement is no longer has any force and effect. That's one of the reasons why I can talk about it here, because prior to that, the agreement prevented Mr. Hegseth from talking about her conduct. So there is no NDA to release her from. And if she wants to go and talk about it, she can do it. I mean, certainly she would do it at her own peril of a further defamation lawsuit. But and additionally,
well, that's news.
NDAs,
we didn't. People have been calling for her to be able to speak, and you're saying, I mean, you're his attorney. You're saying that from the agreement which you negotiated, that she can come out and speak on CNN or wherever she chooses.
Of course. However, if she doesn't tell the truth, if she repeats these false statements, then she will be subject to a defamation lawsuit. But no, she's well aware of that. Her attorney was well aware that because of the breach of the agreement, that is no longer in any force and effect. She is free to speak if she wants. I've heard people saying, we should release her so she can testify before the committee. There is no such thing as an NDA that prohibits somebody from complying with a subpoena.
Okay, so you're saying that she could be.
That's not us.
You're saying she could be released. In terms of settlement agreements, is that the only?
No, I'm saying she's already been released. She released herself.
Right. Is that the only settlement agreement that Pete Hegseth has signed with a woman?
Yes. I mean, obviously, divorce settlements, but no, this is the only one.
Okay, so they are going on offense, and that is a good frame for this because there is a big conversation on the left that they're trying to cover up something, right? He paid her off, so this could all go away. And he's saying, no, let her out. Just come talk about it. This is the same pattern, by the way, that they did with President Trump and E. Jean Carroll with Kavanaugh and others. And Democrats have to love defamation lawsuits. That's what E. Jean Carroll brought against President Trump for defaming her, for denying that the Bergdorf and Bergdorf's ever happened. So she sued Trump for making that claim. Hegseth can sue Carroll for making a claim. Everybody can sue everybody for defamation. It's all fair game. And now Parliatory is making that aware. She can speak, but there may be repercussions coming. She can do it at her peril. Now, Hegseth is going to be getting an FBI background check, as you can see. CNN reporting that. Attorney also said that. Name has been submitted. He got the forms. We're working on them right now. Hegseth is a military veteran, remains defiant, says CNN. Says, I'm expecting the background check is going to take a lot of the false stories that have been circulated, put them to bed. Not going to worry about it. Hegseth faces a tough confirmation process because of people like Joni Ernst, who are in favor of appointing Lloyd Austin and many others. She was out saying, yeah, I sat down with him. It was a frank conversation, but I want to be at the DOD, so I'm not going to support him. Here's Joni.
Well, I did have a very long, lengthy discussion with Pete yesterday, and I do appreciate his service to the nation. I also am a combat veteran. So we talked about a number of those issues, and we will continue with the vetting process. I think that is incredibly important. So again, all I'm saying is we had a very frank and productive discussion, and I know that we will continue to have conversation in the upcoming months.
Is there a date certain for his confirmation hearing?
I have not heard that yet. The incoming chairman will be Senator Roger Wicker, and so that will be established between the chair, I am understanding, and the nominee.
Okay, it doesn't sound on your answer that you've gotten to a yes. If I'm wrong about that, correct me. And if that is the case, it sounds to me as if the hearing will be critical for his nomination. Am I right about that?
I think you are right. I think for a number of our senators, they want to make sure that any allegations have been cleared, and that's why we have to have a very thorough vetting process. And that's why I was happy to sit down with Pete and have that conversation with him yesterday. So again, all I will say at this time is that we did have a very thorough discussion over a number of those issues, and the vetting will continue, I am certain, through the next month or so until we approach that hearing.
All right, out of Iowa, senator out of Iowa. It's not some Democrat who's making it difficult. It's a Republican senator out of Iowa. Chuck Grassley would be ashamed. Now, here is what JD says. You know, led by President Trump, we're fighting for Pete Hegseth, all right? And we're doing so because Pete Hegseth will fight for our troops. For too long, the Pentagon has been led by people who lose wars. Pete Hegseth is a man who fought in those wars. We've got his back. President Trump said the same thing. Says Pete Hegseth is doing very well. His support is strong and deep. Much more so than the fake news would have you believe. He was a great student, Princeton, Harvard educated, with a military state of mind. He will be a fantastic, high-energy Secretary of Defense, one who leads with charisma and skill. Pete is a winner, and there is nothing that can be done to change that. And Pete said in response, thank you, Mr. President. Like you, we will never back down. Fight, fight, fight. Now, here is what J.D. Vance said when he was out on the streets.
Pete Hegseth is going to get his appearing before the Senate Armed Services Committee, not a sham hearing before the American media. We believe that Pete Hegseth is the right guy to lead the Department of Defense. That's why President Trump nominated him. We're not abandoning this nomination. We're not going to make it easy for people to allow them. Who our Secretary of Defense is Donald J. Trump, who just won an election by a very significant
That's, I think,
consent of the United States Senate. That's who determines who the Secretary of Defense is. I fully support Pete. I think Pete's going to get confirmed, and we are completely behind him. I have talked to Joni. I've talked to a number of my colleagues about this nomination and about other nominations. All I'm asking is that people actually allow the Senate process to work. We do not determine important government officials based on anonymous sourcing from the American media. We determine who our officials are through the nomination process, the advice and consent process of the United States Senate. That's how it should happen, and that's how the president's nominees are going to work through this process.
All right, so they're standing firm. Good for them. And Joni is not. Apparently, she's waging a personal war, and very aggressive about it, too. And I've seen some clips of her. Apparently, she wants, trans in the military and all sorts of stuff. Maybe that's why she's unhappy about it. But they're reporting here from the Federalist that the nominee is being attacked by her. A lot happening, saying a Trump person is saying she's waging a campaign to replace Pete with herself. What a surprise. When pressed on Wednesday by The Hill's Alex Bolton on whether she's interested in becoming the defense secretary, Ernst didn't give a direct answer. She says, well, Pete's the nominee for now. Within the past few days, Hegseth has come under scrutiny. Some woman from 2017, another 2019 report. Ernst has denied the allegations. Wait, what's this? Ernst has her own. Ernst has also come under fire with allegations of an inappropriate extramarital relationship. According to 2019 in court documents, Ernst's ex-husband, Gail, accused her of having an affair with one of her soldiers while she was deployed as a company commander. Wow. Wow. So she's going to come after Pete for philandering or something. And her own husband had to divorce her for her infidelities. What a person. Ernst has denied the allegations. So has Pete! Sources told the Federalist that Ernst began calling Trump within the last 2 days, threatening to get all the female senators to vote against Hegseth if the president-elect didn't pull his nomination. When asked when exactly Ernst called Trump this week to deliver her anti-Hegseth ultimatum, a source in Trump world sighed and said, gosh, oh, Joni? Yeah, it wasn't just one time. She's constantly calling and nagging him. Sounds like it. Ernst is not working alone either. Another source said that Lindsey Graham, over the weekend called Trump to nag him too, to ditch Hegseth and replace him with Ernst. Oh my gosh. No. Graham gave credence to the slanderous allegations against Hegseth. Well, I do find those very disturbing. Lindsey Graham is one of the worst people in our government. I think some of these articles are very disturbing, he says. He has a chance to defend himself. Some of the things have to be addressed, and we'll see. Well, a lot of people say a lot of interesting things about Lindsey Graham, too. Yeah, and about like how he dresses and stuff like that. So I wonder if maybe we should explore those things, too. Some of these things have to be addressed. We should have Lindsey Graham address the rumors and address the nickname Lady Graham. Where'd that come from, Lindsey? You should address that immediately. Ernst's office did not respond to the Federalist request for immediate comment, of course. Well, you can see those two are two peas in a pod. They shouldn't be anywhere near the DOD because all they would do is have more war on behalf of Ukraine, and we're sick of that. Now, here's Chip Roy, who says that Pete Hegseth is well worthy of the position and speaks in support of him.
I agree with Pete Hegseth that wokeism is destroying the United States military. I agree with Pete that we don't need to have endless wars. I agree with Pete that we ought to have somebody who's served in battle and understands it, who's at the top of the Pentagon, rather than the brass who, frankly, often like their ribbons more than actually doing the work that is necessary to defend this country. I like the fact that we have people that the president is nominating that will take on the establishment and take on, for example, the FBI with Kash Patel.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is we have senators who are wanting to challenge it. For example, the senator from Iowa who's going after Pete Hegseth, or seemingly being critical. Same individual, by the way, says and voted for an NDAA that would draft our daughters and has been fighting to draft our daughters. And I tell her, you'll do that over my dead body. There will be no draft of my daughter. Voted for the Marriage Act to codify gay marriage. Went out to her constituents and talked about how the horrible Senate border bill was somehow a good bill and then scolded President Trump for opposing it. Voted for Garland for AG, voted for Lloyd Austin for defense, voted for Buttigieg for DOT, voted for Janet Yellen.
Vote for them all.
Voted for Ukraine's borders over America's borders.
Yep.
And with all due respect to the senator from Iowa, you're not where the American people are.
That's right.
President Trump is. And Pete Hegseth is. We have an obligation to change this town or we're going to lose this country. If Republicans do not deliver, if we do not do what we said we would do, this party will end. There will not be a Republican Party if we fail in this term.
Do not squander it.
Congress
do not
to deliver.
Do not.
That's not hyperbole. It's true. We will go the way of the Whigs. We will secure the border. We will return order to our streets. We will cut spending. We will move towards balancing our budgets. We will nominate and confirm, as the president has nominated, we will confirm people who will change this town, take on the bureaucracy. We will listen to and work with Elon and Vivek, root out the waste and fraud, but do it ourselves. Pass bills that actually get the job done. We will undo the damage of the Biden administration, replace it with a legacy that our kids and grandkids can be proud of. Root out the wokeism, root out all of the DEI and the critical race theory. Kill it now. We will do these things or we will not exist. And we will organize ourselves as a conference to do those things or we won't succeed.
Yeah.
Our job between now, the first week of December, and the first week of January is to get our heads in the right places.
Yes, out of...
They currently aren't there.
That's right. Take them out.
We are not structured right now to deliver, and we have 1 month to do it. That is my calling. We are not here to take breaks. We are not here for Codels. We are not here for trips. We are here to get the job done.
Don't squander it. Trump's not running again, so there's not going to be another MAGA momentum on a bunch of milquetoast Joni Ernst Republicans who want endless war the next cycle. So they better figure it out and decide what this party is about. Otherwise, they're not going to be long for this country. And Pete Hegseth is part of the team who's coming in to make these reforms happen. Here's what he said addressing the media.
I'm proud of what I fought for. I'm not going to back down from them one bit. I will answer all of these senators' questions, but this will not be a process tried in the media. I don't answer to anyone in this group. None of you. Not to that camera at all. I answer to President Trump, who received 76 million votes on behalf and a mandate for change. I answer to the 100 senators who are part of this process and those in the committee. And I answer to my Lord and Savior and my wife and my family. I'm proud to be here. And as long as Donald Trump wants me in this fight, I'm going to be standing right here in this fight, fighting to bring our Pentagon back to what it needs to be.
What have your conversations?
All right, that's Pete Hegseth. So we'll see. They're in it. Trump and J.D. Vance and Pete saying, let's do this thing. So Joni Ernst and the rest of the Republicans can get on board, or they'll have to face the consequences for that. And my friends, that is going to be a lot of fun to follow. So let's carry on. We got one more segment. Then we're going to hear from you. Let's see what you say about all this. But this is TikTok. And an interesting story here. TikTok, one step closer to being banned. President Trump has come in, says he does not want this to happen, but the law may take this away from him in many different regards. We'll go through what the court said because there was a new ruling from the Court of Appeals out of the District of Columbia. TikTok said, hey, do not ban us. Remember that Congress, both houses, the House and the Senate, entered a bill that Joe Biden signed into law saying on January 19th, TikTok better be divested or they're gone, they're banned. And this Court of Appeal says that law is valid, so they can go bye-bye. CNN gives us a little bit of background on this. They say they lost their bid. Court of Appeals upheld the ruling. We'll zoom in on it, saying that it's not a violation of TikTok's First Amendment at all. So our government can just ban entire companies from existing because they don't like the messages, and it's not a violation of the First Amendment. We'll see. The ruling means the platform one step closer to a ban starting on January 19th. Trump's not even in office yet, right? Could go away quickly. TikTok came out with a statement and responded to this. Joe Biden signed the bill back in April, says they have to be sold to a new non-Chinese owner following years of concern over Chinese national security risks. And I don't buy that for a minute, to be honest with you. Chinese agents flew balloons over our country multiple times. They didn't care. Chinese are in our telecom companies, 8 of them. They're like, just use a different app. TikTok has been a security risk forever. All the politicians are on it. It is about, from our take, the message on TikTok. They don't like people being able to say certain things that they can't censor. And so both sides of the government came out because of foreign policy issues that showed up on there and because of President Trump, who's doing well on TikTok. They don't like Elon either. They want him destroyed too. They'd rather have total control of all the social media companies. And now that we know our own government is basically useless when it comes to stopping the Chinese from invading any of our systems, this rings hollow when they say that this is to protect us and to protect our national security interests. We don't trust you to do that. We don't trust you to protect us on hardly anything. You said the CDC was going to bring weapons-grade military precision to a national health emergency, and you failed. In fact, you made it worse, in my opinion, than other countries. So how about you don't secure us? Okay, thanks, but no thanks. We're good. We'll decide for ourselves what apps to use. And when the U.S. government is now trying to take over and use the FBI to censor us on Facebook, use the FBI to censor us on YouTube and on Twitter before it became X, how about we actually have an alternative called TikTok, which I don't even use or am on at all. Not even on my phone because I don't want it on there. But wouldn't it be nice to have an alternative to a non-U.S. government controlled app that is infiltrated by the FBI I don't know if the FBI has infiltrated or commandeered TikTok, but probably not to the same degree that they've commandeered Facebook and 8 of our telecoms companies. Because they own it, and we know it, and we can see it on its face that it's Chinese. It's not NSA. So we'll have multiple intelligence apps on our platforms, in our lives, rather than only the US government telling us what to do. All right. So here is what the opinion says from the Court of Appeals out of the District of Columbia. It is a big one. We'll hit the highlights. You see a bunch of people are involved in this. This is probably going up to the United States Court of Appeals. It will probably come up quickly. But this was, I believe, a unanimous decision from the 3 judges. And here is the background. They tell us, on April 24th, the president signed into law the Ban TikTok Act. The act identifies the People's Republic of China and 3 other countries as foreign adversaries and prohibits the distribution and the maintenance of TikTok, coming into ban January 19th next year. 3 petitions now, ByteDance, TikTok, Based Politics, a group of individuals and other creators who are actually on the platform, which we have consolidated, are all suing. And there are a bunch of Americans who are on there, who have their whole lives built on TikTok. And you do not want to pull the rug out from under them either. Now, we conclude that portions of the act the petitioners have standing to challenge is that is the provisions concerning TikTok and related survive constitutional scrutiny, and we therefore deny the petitions. All right, so let's get into it. Now, this court has exclusive jurisdiction over this. Several issues have come up. We've reviewed sworn declarations. We've reviewed a bunch of stuff. Here, there's no dispute of essential facts, so we can jump right into this. The background is TikTok is a social media platform. A lot of videos on there. 170 million users on here every month. More than 1 billion users worldwide. Now, what a TikTok user sees on the platform is determined by a recommendation engine. It identifies a pool of candidates. It's got machine learning, serves them up a bunch of videos, and people love it. People tell, all the time. I'm like, you watch YouTube? What do you do for a living? I'm like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, live streamer. Like, I don't even watch it. I'm like, you don't? What? No, I'm on TikTok. Ugh. Really? Yeah, that's all I do. Okay. Content moderations are on TikTok. TikTok goes through automated moderation. They've got a head of operations and more. There's video promotion, which is called heating. And there's also demotion called filtering. And review teams are regionalized so that videos promoted in the US are reviewed by US reviewers and more. Now, there are 3 groups of people who are suing. We explained who they are: TikTok, creators, and others who are saying our rights are going to be infringed if you nuke us. Now, as is relevant here, the executive first came concerned about China's influence over TikTok. In 2019, everybody was screaming about this. Yes, TikTok scans your face. It gobbles up every bit of data on your phone, which is why I don't have it on my phone, has your passwords, has everything. The president, acting on the referral, ordered ByteDance. So they were doing a CFIUS review, and they concluded that TikTok could not sufficiently mitigate the national security concerns. And so Biden ordered them, the president ordered ByteDance to divest anything back in 2020. So Trump separately invoked emergency powers to address TikTok. President Trump prohibited certain transactions. And then Biden came in 2021, withdrew Trump's executive order and issued a new one, called PRC a foreign adversary and more. Litigation came up. Then during 2021, multiple drafts came out. Then in 2022, TikTok submitted a proposal. Then there was a third trusted party. And so TikTok's trying to figure this out. How can I make the national security state happy? Couldn't do it. Then in the months leading to the passage of the act, Congress conducted a series of classified briefings and hearings. Then they debated and they passed the bill. They said it was a foreign adversary country and they don't want data going to foreign adversaries. Now, the act itself is narrowly construed and constructed to counter foreign adversaries, and it's got some different things inside. It defines what a foreign adversary controlled application is. It says what the act prohibits, and it gives us a divestiture option, which we'll talk about. So they give us the details of what is in the act. The act says it is illegal to have data in certain locations. We want critical things in the United States. The act passes and takes effect January 19th. Now, in both situations, the president can grant a one-time 90-day extension, and the failure to comply with the act can result in significant monetary penalties. And the attorney general can sue to enforce. So, okay, a couple things that you can just tease out of there. One, could TikTok come in, refuse to comply with the law? Trump comes in, he takes power January 21st, I mean, like day one. Can he grant the 90-day extension and then finagle something in those 90 days? And then TikTok would only pay, or ByteDance, the parent company, would only pay 1 day of monetary penalties. That's one option. Do they pay any penalties if Trump comes in and his attorney general just refuses to prosecute? Does anything happen? Now, Section 2 talks about divestiture. The president also can determine, so the president would have some discretion, it looks like, through an interagency process, if he says that they're no longer being controlled by a foreign adversary. If the president determines that there is cooperation with respect to this, then the president may have the power to nix this. Interesting. Now, portions of the government's brief has now made its way up to us. They say, TikTok wants a declaratory judgment. TikTok says this violates the Constitution. They can't do this. On the merits, we reject each of their claims. As we shall explain, the parts of the act that are properly before this court do not contravene the First Amendment, do not violate the Constitution, do not violate Equal Protection Clause, is not a bill of attainder, which is not a bill specifically to penalize somebody. It's not an uncompensated taking. We're not seizing your property. All right, it's kind of a little bit of those things. Ripeness, let's see. So ripeness, they say they got standing. Let's just fast forward to the First Amendment. This case requires that we apply First Amendment principles, and we conclude the act implicates the First Amendment, and it is subject to heightened scrutiny. So we need to zoom in. But the government, all right, so it passes strict scrutiny. So your First Amendment right, yeah, it is being trampled, but national security means we can violate it. As in most First Amendment cases, the parties spend much of their time, what is the appropriate standard? Is it the rational basis? Remember, when we have a constitutional right that is being infringed upon by the government, there are three standards that we measure it against. What was the government's act? And does it pass a standard? In criminal law, the standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. If it's beyond a reasonable doubt, the government wins and they criminalize you and put you in jail. The different standards are rational basis, intermediate scrutiny, and strict scrutiny. First Amendment, if they're going to dump on your First Amendment, that is a constitutional fundamental right. So it's the highest standard of review. And the government says, well, we don't need to. It should only be rational basis. But they say, no, it's heightened scrutiny. But they still beat even intermediate scrutiny. And it satisfies even the strictest of scrutiny because my national security. We think it clear that there is some heightened scrutiny here because the question is whether TikTok can be silenced. No Supreme Court case directly addresses this. Now, we reject the government's position that this doesn't implicate the First Amendment at all. There's a lot of speech happening on there. Here, the act imposes a disproportionate burden on TikTok when they're posting videos. They say, well, it's okay. It's just technology, and we don't need to worry about that. The government says because TikTok is wholly owned by a foreign company, they don't have First Amendment rights. Nor does the government say that they should be able to pierce the corporate veil or any of this. The provisions of the act are content neutral. They don't target speech because of the content. And TikTok can divest itself. TikTok insists that This requires strict scrutiny, the highest scrutiny. But they say, yeah, that's fine. Even if it does meet that scrutiny, require that standard, the government still wins. Let's get to that section. Although we can conceive of reasons intermediate scrutiny might be appropriate, we're not going to rest our judgment on that. We're not going to tell you what the standard is because it passes the highest standard, right? To satisfy that high standard, to say the government can dump on a fundamental right, we ask ourselves, does the government have a compelling government interest? And is that interest narrowly tailored to further that interest? So do they need to do this? And in doing it, are they doing it in a limited fashion? They're not going crazy. They say, yeah, that's what's happening here. There are national security risks, weighs heavily in favor of the act. Our deference to the government on national security is broad. There was bipartisan action. Joe Biden signed it into law. And this is compelling. National security is persuasive. There's hacking all over the place, saying the PRC has pre-positioned itself for potential cyber attacks against U.S. critical infrastructure. And they don't need TikTok to do that. They're in all the tubes everywhere. The FBI now warns that no country poses a more broader, more severe intelligence collection threat than China, obviously. PRC methods for hacking are broad and known. They pose significant hybrid commercial threats. And you can see they're going through this, articulating national security, national security, national security. There are also public reports. Forbes reported about it. And they collect data, 5.5 billion video views in a year or something. TikTok does not deny it collects everything, but it disputes details about what it does with it. Set against those statements, TikTok, they get your precise locations, viewing habits, they get your private messages, they get data on your phones, and even on contacts who are not even on TikTok. Users' geographic locations, right? It's scanning your face, obviously, like it's got your face. You put those little filters on, your whole face is scanned in China now. The government's data-related justification for the act is sufficient. And we reject TikTok's arguments that these are just speculative arguments. No, it's real. TikTok next says other companies have operations in China too. And we talk about content manipulation. Can the government come in and hit that heater button to make certain videos go viral? Foreign governments can distort free speech on the market. And the Chinese have done that. And this is another big issue. They didn't like certain conversations people were having on this app. Consequently, the act is not an effort to get control of the ideas. It's not making certain speech mandatory. It's saying that you're prohibiting actual free speech. TikTok resists this conclusion, saying, no, we're allowed to content moderate, just like all the other social media companies do. TikTok also contends the government's content manipulation rationale is also speculative. But they don't explain how PRC demands censorship and how they implement censorship. And we were posting our stuff on TikTok one time. Like when it first became big, we were like, oh, this is cool. What is this? And we got banned instantly, or shadow banned instantly. But I think that was before it became known that it was basically gobbling up your passwords. TikTok presents its proposed NSA. It's less. So some other entity as a less risky proposition. But the court goes through this, and we'll fast forward to the end on this and see what the court says in conclusion. But a lot of details about the national security challenges, and it passes strict scrutiny. So I don't know that the Supreme Court's going to come back down and find differently in any way. The government can basically do whatever it wants, unfortunately, when they just declare national security. We recognize this decision has significant implications for TikTok and its users unless TikTok executes a divestiture by January 19, 2025, or the president grants a 90-day extension based upon progress towards a divestiture. Its platform will be unavailable effectively for at least for a time. Consequently, TikTok's millions of users will need to find alternative media of communication. Now, that actually might be good for YouTubers, right? You're like, well, these TikTokers are going to come over here. But that's not what I want to see, our government just banning entire streams of communication. That burden is attributable to the PRC's hybrid commercial threat to the U.S. national security, not to the U.S. government, which engaged with TikTok for a year. The First Amendment exists to protect free speech. Here, the government acted solely to protect the freedom from a foreign adversary nation and to limit the adversary's ability to gather data on people in the U.S. All right. And for these reasons, the petitions are denied. Okay, so it's like, I guess it's bad when a foreign government does it to us, when they collect our data, spy on us illegally, censor us, arrest us, and more. I guess the Chinese aren't arresting us, so they're not doing that. So our government does more than the Chinese. And when their FBI goons can censor you or demonetize your channel or throw you off or debank you or any of those things, that's okay. Our government can do it because at least it's U.S. citizens doing it. And if the FBI gets a FISA warrant and spies on you, that's okay because some corrupt judge in D.C. said so. So look, I'm not in favor of TikTok. Like I said, I don't use it on my phone. I think it is probably a very bad app that's scanning your face and gobbling up all your like everything, I would imagine, because you give it all the permissions. You don't even know what you're giving it. Sure, yeah, whatever. And if they're hacking into our telecoms, pretty sure their app that you install voluntarily on your phone and say do whatever you want and then give it access to your camera and audio, pretty sure that's not good. But I'm not so sure that the other apps are not doing that either, all right? You talk about at dinner getting snow boots, and then all of a sudden Facebook is like, would you like to buy some snow boots? You're like, I haven't even opened your app in a month. And you get a ping or something. It's bizarre. So I have my doubts about our government being honest and legitimate in wanting to protect us from TikTok. And I don't like the precedent here that is being set here that Congress and the president can just unilaterally declare a social media technology company, even if it is a foreign intelligence operation, from just unilaterally being banned because a bunch of people are using it legitimately on TikTok and they're getting messages out. And there was a TikTok effect for President Trump that maybe was not allowed to take place on Facebook or Instagram. So we want more options, not less. Our useless government is terrible when they try to manipulate the markets. And in our read of how they've been governing the social media sphere for the last decade, they haven't done a good job of it. So we can be smart consumers. We can decide whether to use TikTok. And if we do use TikTok, how to use it, why to use it, how to silo it or whatever. But our government does a bad job protecting us. And so to outsource this to them when the Chinese are already in the telecoms feels like it is about something else, not about our national security. All right. And so, my friends, that's the TikTok update. Now, let's see what you say about all of this and more. It's a beautiful Friday, and I hope your week was outstanding. I hope your to-do list is empty, your email inbox is empty, your stack of mail is empty, and you're enjoying something delicious and refreshing right at this very moment. Let's see what you have to say about it. It's a beautiful night. We got some great donos coming in. Thank you for supporting our work. Thanks for becoming membos. Thanks for subscribing and inviting someone you know or love over here to check out our channel and join us as we go live. We've got some comments that have come in. Hey, what's going on? Is this a wacky inflatable balloon guy? It's a French fry. That's what it is. It's Friday. It's a French fry. I didn't see the Y on there. Hey, Knox is here. Says, hey, all, happy Friday. The Hill says, Fetterman says Trump should be pardoned of his New York conviction. Yeah, and I think he said Hunter did too, right? He's like, Hunter should be pardoned, Trump should be pardoned. And then Fetterman's making Ron DeSantis jokes as well. I don't know what's going on over there. Glocky says, Penny is going to get the Congressional Gold Medal. Congressman just filed the paperwork. Eli Crane is filing a resolution to award Daniel Penny the Congressional Gold Medal. I hope he gets it. Hey, Knox says, however, there are no changes to instructions once deliberations have begun. Yeah, Knox, how did you read that, right? Would you think that would be a change to the deliberations? Like they have to proceed to the second after a finding on the first? They just got rid of the first and proceeded to the second. Were those in the instructions? We'll see on appeal. Hey, NY says updating the charges during the middle of the jury deliberations to me sounds like sending a wink and a nod to the jury. How is that not double jeopardy? Well, they're in the same, I mean, they're trying to get, it's like a second crack, but there has been no finding yet, right? So there's been no conviction. So double jeopardy is you can't be prosecuted twice for the same offense. It's like, maybe what you're asking about lesser includeds, right? And those are not double jeopardy because again, he's not been convicted of that upper level offense. And you see how they were deciding those. It was either the first. If it's the first, don't need the second. And if it's not the first, it can be the second, but only in limited circumstances. So, yeah. But there has not been a conviction yet, so they're considering the both of them. Thank you, NY. Art Pollard says, smash that like button, dang it. Actually says smush it, which is different than smash. Thank you, Art. Hey, F. Joe Biden says, in cases like this, Robert, do juries take into consideration what the former Marine was actually capable of doing in that situation? I'm sure some people would. I think other people might say, well, he's a former Marine. He should know better. It depends on the person, right? I think that some people would say if he wanted to kill the guy, he'd kill the guy. He didn't want to kill the guy. He was trying to restrain the guy. Other people probably have a distaste for Marines, would have some kind of opinion about it. It reminds me of that movie called Con Air. Remember that movie with that incredible actor called Nicolas Cage? Remember Con Air? He like killed those 3 dudes all in that bar fight. And they're like, you're a Marine. You should have known better. I was like, what? They attacked him. What are you talking about? Neuro D, what's up? Smash that thumbs up, peeps. Thank you, Neuro D. In the house, neurodivergent one. Great to have you. Thanks for the reminder to smash that like button. Hey, Chubby says, I used to think they were being maliciously underhanded when Mercan said the jury could pick any 3 of the underlying crimes for Trump. But considering they're trying to do the same with Penny, now I just think they're dumb and they're ignorant of the law. Yeah, that's nice of you to think that they're dumb and ignorant. I think that they're corrupt, partisan hacks who are just trying to get their man no matter what. And they're dumb and ignorant of the law. Hey, Wojo says, so if Penny didn't intervene and that guy killed someone, then they would be crying, why didn't anyone intervene? Probably not. I mean, I think New York would just say, wow, another dude died on a subway. Whatever. It's like horrible. Bad is the new default, which is unfortunate for New York. Ida No says something's rotten in Fani land. There is a stinky, noxious odor of mendacity and other things all throughout Fulton. Anthony F., Soldier of Providence, says Department of Just Us. Department of Just Us for the DOJ, because they just serve themselves, not the American people. Crash, what's up, Crash? Rob, New York is emblematic of the entire justice or injustice system today. This is not America, certainly not the one governed by the Constitution. Time for a change, a fundamental systemic change. It's happening soon, coming up in January, coming soon to a Washington near you. Eric Sean, what's up? Thanks for becoming a supporter, my friend. Grab the stream from this morning. We had a fun one. We talked more about that CEO slang and those pictures. What a weird situation that was. And we'll see you tomorrow on the Saturday stream. Thank you, Eric Sean. Appreciate your support. Sharpie Guy, what's up? Says, regarding this morning Membo stream was that I don't want the federal government involved in Doge in any way. They'll corrupt the whole deal. About this afternoon, watchers, it proves it out, and the New York City highlights just how skitty-womp state and the federal government is, and just how disgusted all of us are that voted for Trump's mandate. And how in the world can we once again have hope that Lady Justice is truly blind? Please tell us, Rob. Yeah, it's going to take some work, Sharpie Guy. This is why I get so upset about the Democrats and the prosecution of President Trump. We had 234 years of not doing that, okay? 234 years in the gutter, in the toilet, by Fanny, Bragg, and Jack. And Biden and Obama and Garland and everybody who is responsible for this. 234 years in the crapper, man. It's like, do you have, and they're dismissed for what? They're dismissed, anyone? Idiots. So you can't, like, how do you come back for that? It's going to take years. It's going to take a long time. And it's going to take a lot of work. So we got our work cut out for us, but they wrecked it. And the Democratic Party, now that they've pardoned Hunter, and if they come out and pardon everybody on their side, their party, man, is going to be in the wilderness for a long, long time. And the prosecutions that are going to be required to clean it up are going to be monstrous. Knox is here. Says Joni Ernst allegedly slept with some dude under her command when she was in the military. Apparently she denies it. But what happens often, I think, is maybe the reason she's so upset about Pete Hegseth is because he reminds her of her own infidelities. You know, it's like looking into a mirror and she has to reconcile it. She probably should go talk to somebody and figure it out. She doesn't have to live with it. Chubby says, sounds like Ernst needs to be primaried. And I think she will. I saw Charlie Kirk was pounding the drum on that. And Charlie Kirk means business. Hey, Sev Russ is here. What's up, Sev Russ? Bringing in 5 new membos. I'm proud of myself because I remembered kind of how to pronounce it, I think. Victor Man. What's up, Victor Man? Javier Silva. One great plan. Chris Fry is here. Allison Grotkin in the house, courtesy of Sev Russ. Gifting 5 membos. Thank you, Sev. We appreciate you. Hey, Sheila the Pooh is here, bringing in 10 membos. Sheila the Pooh, a million hugs to you. Thank you for this. Look who's coming in. Deb Trueluck is here. Tracy King. Adrian Angevine, Sassy Gal Beauty's here, Night 1007, J Not Z, Thomas Payne 76, what's up, Tom T-Payne? Sandra Gills, Small Wildflower, and Stephanie Harbin, gifted membos, 10 membos coming in, courtesy of Sheila Pooh, a million hugs to you. Thank you, Sheila. This one from Jennifer. Family, please call your reps, tell them to confirm Hegseth and Patel, etc., and be polite too. Yeah, call your senators, right? Call your senators. They're going to be the ones doing the confirming. Jennifer's right, though. A lot of them, especially like if you're in Iowa. Joni would be a good call. If you're an Iowa citizen, maybe she should hear from you. Thank you, Jennifer. Great reminder on that. We got Tanya Wynn. What's up, Tanya? Thank you for being a membo and for the nice dono. Says Pete the man. Pete the man. He's fighting. He's fighting hard. He's got the support of the president and J.D. Vance. And so he deserves his shot. William, what's up, William? Thank you for becoming a supporter. We'll see you tomorrow on the members-only Saturday morning stream. Sheila Pooh says, Ernst and Graham both need to be primaried out. Call your senators and let them know we trust Trump and they need to approve his picks. I mean, look, if they're going to go and confirm Lloyd Austin and those guys overwhelmingly, you can give Pete a chance, all right? Crash says, Ernst was bagging one of her subordinates? Allegedly, yeah. Whew. Give me a break. Anyone who understands the military knows how important it is to good order and discipline so that they can close with and defeat the enemy. In the Marine Corps, infidelity is the death knell. Infidelity amongst peers is chargeable. Infidelity between officers and enlisted is general court-martial material. Good. Good. Should be. Thank you, Crash. Should be. Hey, Sharpie Guy says, P.S. McConnell, Graham, and Ernst are not the president, and I wonder why they act as such. They're more like day-old bread. Not quite moldy and nowhere near delectable croutons. Here's a question for you all. Why do the aforementioned appear so stale and soulless? Just discarded bologna sandwiches. Peace and love is healthy and wholesome. I don't know, man. I think it's that defense contractor money. It must be like a lot. Or they must have the goods on Graham. I don't know. Sheila Pooh says, our Constitution clearly does not support banning TikTok. The First Amendment is the first for a reason. We may not like the app, but our government should not ban it. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Sheila. And let me say this. I do think TikTok is a problematic app. I do, actually. I think that the Chinese are brainwashing a bunch of people into idiocy. But that's the same. That's happening on a lot of apps. And it's happening on CNN and then MSNBC, all right? So, like, there's a lot of problematic things out there. But the answer to bad speech is more speech. It's more free speech. Like if the Chinese are brainwashing people on TikTok, we better figure that out other than just banning it. Like, what are they saying? Why are those ideas catching wind? Why are people turning into communists? Have to address that, not just ban the technology. Thank you, Sheila. Glocky says, TikTok is the test run for getting rid of X and Rumble and Telegram. Right. I guarantee censorship will be a platform AOC runs on, and all the Democrats will get behind her because she's a big social media person and she'll use that as cover. Because free speech gave us Trump and breaking the Democrats' hold on the minority communities. That's right. That's right, Glocky. That's my concern too. Oh, Russia is getting paid by the Rumble is getting paid by the Russians or Elon or whatever. Right? No. How about you don't ban our social media companies? Lenny Malley, what's up? Says, hey, thank you for hitting the like button. Please like this video. Please share. Please subscribe. Share on all social media platforms. And God bless you all. From Lenny Malley in the house. Bonnie says, I read the bill. First TikTok, next they'll go after Telegram or any other platform with any association with foreign countries. It's a backdoor to censorship. You're right about that, Bonnie. Yeah, thanks for reading it and for jumping in on the conversation because I think that's right. NY says, Rob, the jury just came out with a note saying that they were deadlocked. Then the prosecution withdrew the manslaughter charge. That's what I meant by wink and nod. The jury was in deliberations and the prosecution is changing the charges. Yeah, you're right about it, NY. Good comment. Libby T, what's up, Libby T? Have a great day, Libby. Here's one from Huey, bringing in Huey. That's a shame, is a new membo. Tammy32, Port Water Dogs Forever, and Larky gifted a membo courtesy of Libby T. Have a great day, Libby. Thank you for the dono. Hey, Rick Donner. What's up, Rick D? SB 72 is a trespass offense. Looks like some details. If you make a report, oh, I saw this bill. Yeah, where did this bill come from? Minnesota, something? Missouri. If you report an illegal alien, they'll pay $1,000. Something like that is a bill. A lot of people make a lot of money. Uncle Bozy says, off topic, but the Assad regime in Syria is collapsing. ISIS and other rebel groups are advancing on Damascus, and Israel is establishing a protective buffer zone. Not a peep about this on the mainstream media that I've seen. Oh, wow. That sounds like the Middle East. It's exactly what it sounds like. So thank you, Uncle Bozy, for that one. Yeah, very curious. John, you're moving to Missouri? Gonna make a lot of money, huh? What? We'll pack up and head on over there. All right, that's hilarious. All right, my friends, thank you so much for sending in those amazing donos. Thanks for being here and joining us on this afternoon on a Friday. We're grateful for that. We also want to say what's up to our friends on X. Then we're going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our after party where we will debrief and see who is joining us over there. We had a couple comments on X. Don't be hating says Trump should pardon Penny and hire him for a security team. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a state crime, so he doesn't really have that power, but I like the point. Fred says, all right, let me get this right. A man's entire life is at stake, and a New York judge is like, let's try it. Yeah, let's give it a shot. You can always appeal it. It's too disgraceful and disgusting to even think about. Yeah, we'll just see what happens. Worst thing that happens is you're found guilty and you go to prison, but you can appeal it. Bitorn says Joni Ernst has brought the wrath of Musk upon her, saying Musk is not happy with Joni. Good. There should be consequences for supporting Democratic positions. Hey, J Miss Coffee. Thank you for that. Thank you for the videos you make. You're awesome. Thank you, J Miss Coffee. And Jesse says there is one benefit of the lawfare against Trump and his administration and supporters. Rob, the precedent going forward in the future have been set, and now Trump has the mandate. Indeed, indeed. Great to see our friends over on X. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Don't Be Hating, and others for following us over there. We do post our content on X, so if you want to check us out, please do so. And follow other membos, other Watcher fam friends out there on the X. And so I believe, my friends, that is it for us on the day. What a great stream it has been. And it's been a fun week. We've covered a ton of stuff. And next week is going to be busy too. I can already feel it in my bones. And so, my friends, I want to thank you for being here. And as always, I hope that this weekend you have a tremendous couple of days, hopefully unplugging from some of the politics, from some of the political madness that's out there. Although things have been very pleasant this time around because we're leading back into power in Washington very soon. And so it's been pretty fun. So maybe you can continue to indulge in the politics because we do like winning a lot. And we did a lot of winning this week. And the winning will continue into the next week. And so, my friends, we'll leave it there on the day. I want to thank the mods for helping us out this week. Thank you to John McGarvey, K-Bean, Donut clipping away for us today. Carrie B, we got Playing Hooky, and tons of friends. We love our mods. Thanks for helping to keep the fort down for us on the day. My friends, thanks again for joining us. We're heading over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Membos, we'll see you tomorrow on the Saturday stream. My friends, we're going to leave it there on the day, but we're coming back here on Monday, and we're going to get into it again. And in order to do that, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful weekend, my friends. I'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.